Hi, everybody. Welcome to another off season episode. On today's episode, I will be discussing the secret lives of Mormon wives reunion, the first one that they've ever had in its baby 2 seasons. And my guest today is Aid. Hi, Aid. How are you?
I am good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I feel how I sound.
I
So,
I struggle because I listen to so many of your podcasts.
yeah.
But I think you were talking to Jen
Yeah.
when you said the thing about how Tane comes back from holiday and she is immediately sick every single time. And I feel like at that point you were okay, but maybe you were just
Yes.
sliding into sickness, and now I'm like, oh no, she's really sick.
Yeah, it came through. I was still like tiptoeing around there, just feeling a little bit. It came through now, so but it's all good. We move. So, guys, just a little housekeeping reminding you that there's a Patreon, patreon.com/AltoCallMAFS. You can go there for bonus episodes. Aid stopped by and we talked about the Sister Wives 101. We are talking about right now the ultimatum. I'm doing that with Brian. And every now and then I do a Love Island because the season is crazy and honestly, I'm ready for it to end. So check that out once again at patreon.com/AltoCallMAFS. Now back to business. Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. Aid, did this need a reunion?
Oh hell no. And it really didn't need 1 hour and 40 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought we needed a reunion and I'm like, oh, we didn't need a reunion. And I I think some episodes back, someone had talked about Nick Vile, being the host, and I was like, I think he could do a good job. I read comments before I actually watched it. I don't think he was so terrible. One or two areas where I'm like, but also it's his first one. What did you think about his performance as
I barely
host?
remembered him. He was so unmemorable, but it did make me think about host dynamics. There will never be any reunion that can beat the Real Housewives. And I am starting to understand that that partly is because Andy is both a producer, like there's a weird sort of deference while also like the women don't really allow themselves to be pushed all over just because of the deference.
Yeah.
And that's what creates the moments.
Yeah, I just we are spoiled from the reunions from Bravo that, we've talked about this a number of times and we always say like a close second is Kevin from Maths. But honestly, there's not a lot of good reunion hosts.
Oh my god, I just watched the 90 Day Fiance.
Oh, God.
The fact that it was only, first off, I never almost never watched those.
Yeah.
And then I was like, it's only two parts because even with all of the fabricated drama that they tried, there's just nothing there.
I heard a rumor that they were going to fire Sean and replace her with Sukanya. I don't know how true anything is. Information is just in abundance these days, and we don't know what's true or not.
I just feel so pointless. I don't think people like to act like Sean is the problem. She's not the problem. The problem is not the host, it's the format, it's the fact that these people don't interact until they get to the reunion. There's a lot of things wrong with the reunion, but I would not say that Sean is one of them.
I think we talked about it when we recapped the season, and I mentioned that if I had picked, it would have been Heather Gay. Um, I don't know how that would have fared. Do you think that this particular group of women deserve to have a woman be the host or it didn't matter? And to be very specific, it's mostly like some of the areas where I said it was kind of weird having Nick as the host. I don't I It was just uncomfortable for Nick to ask Layla if she's had an orgasm. Like I just it just felt wrong.
It's interesting because this show is about women. It's for like it's very women focused,
Mhm.
but because of honestly their culture, they're very man focused and they're
Centered.
very
Mhm.
man centered. Yeah, thank you. And I wish that they would have had a female host for that reason. I
Yeah.
don't. They already have weird dynamics. I feel like when it comes to men, and you're right. Layla should have been asked that question by a woman.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, we're gonna get into it, especially the Whitney of it all, because kind of felt like she was the star of the reunion, and I'm like, okay, good for you, Whitney. So as we already know, we knew that Demi didn't make it and had like this weird excuse of like they already had a planned family vacation, and I'm like, do planes still exist or did I miss something? Like you join your family a day later. So what did you think of that weird excuse?
I didn't know if it was true. I don't know why. I'm willing to I mean, I'm
No.
willing to give her a little bit of benefit of doubt, but I don't know why. If it was like the third day of a if it was day 2 of like a 3-day trip, I can and it's not just her immediate family, like it's like extended family, everybody's cleared their schedule, then maybe it holds weight. But if it's just an excuse to get out of going to the reunion, that was dumb. Like I
The,
actually don't think that she would be that dumb. I still think she understands her, if you want to be on the show, if you want to stay in the fights, you need to come to the reunion. I think she knows that.
that there's no good. I don't care if it was day one, day four. You just they film for one day. It wasn't many parts, and then you get on the plane and go back. But this is again another thing. Put this thing in their contracts. They have to come to reunions. Like I don't know if this somehow is illegal, but I don't know why this is not a must do and something they must do, and they have the option to bow out because it just ruins everything. We spent most of it talking about her and the things that she said, and she's not there. And then they show us the one interview she did with Nick Vile. Like, how does this man have this much power? He's not affiliated with the Disney, Hulu, anything. Or maybe he is. I don't know what his podcast host family is. But I just don't understand why they inserted that. So is it promo for his podcast? But I just don't reward her for not showing up by playing her solo clip because that sounds like an option for future reunions, I think. It sets precedence, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm hoping the president has said that they shouldn't have a reunion. Um,
That's funny. Okay, they do the whole thing. They're trying to copy Bravo, where you know how Andy goes to each of the women, Nick is walking around talking to them, and Dakota tells us that he's never worn a suit in his life. This is not surprising, right?
it's not. I mean, it is a little bit. If it at first I was like, "What is this man's job again?" He's supposed to be a real estate agent. They typically dress pretty nicely. What is he saying?
Or maybe he just wears a nice shirt and pants, and then he
Maybe.
doesn't wear. If not, he needs to learn how to wear a suit. They have sodas for the ladies, which was kind of cute. But also interesting is that Jen doesn't start with them. I understand that she bowed out a little halfway through the season, but I still thought it was kind of weird that they had her backstage and they kept showing her reactions, which were a little extra. But I didn't get separating her like she was a friend of
That
the
was
season.
dumb. And for okay, you know what? I'll give them okay, maybe like 30 minutes or so. But I think it was more than half she wasn't there.
Hmm.
That didn't make any sense to me. She's like a centerpiece of the show.
Yeah. So Nick starts with Layla, and for those who don't remember, the season ended with Layla meeting with Marciano and asking about Demi and him dropping the bomb that it was Jesse, and they stepped together and all that stuff. And if they are more reasons why it was dumb that Jen wasn't there, if they're starting there and they're starting with the villa, who was there? Jen was there. Jen is the one who threw it out first and was like, "Oh, I have your secret. I know what happened." I'm like, "Okay, so why?" Unless do you think maybe something to do with her pregnancy? Like be safe, don't be stressed. I don't know, but she's watching it. So they all say that everyone was side eyeing how close to me and Marciano was. And then Jesse says, the one thing you shouldn't say on a reunion. I can't say anything because, I'm not legally allowed to say it. Why? Why? Why?
I'm like, okay, this is I should um
It's
unless there is actual pending litigation.
okay.
This whole I can't say anything because of no, I need an active court case for you to be using that.
Yeah,
Or at least like a cease and desist, or like someone has told you they intend to sue you.
yeah.
But just, oh, I can't, but pending litigate, be quiet.
This is what happens when shows listen to the fans online. There's a lot of opinions out there, and you really have to stand your ground. Do they need a reunion? Maybe they should do it after season three, because what they're doing now is they filmed season three already. They just continuously kept filming even after season two. And we might get into Sister Wives territory where these things happened so long ago, but we're still, behind. So what your reaction you're gonna get in the reunion is not gonna be really what they're feeling, because they've already filmed and new things are already happening. So I don't think they should have had the reunion now. They probably should have just waited. And also, a reunion is not a reunion when you don't have like the fan interaction in like the things we're saying, the questions that we have, and the timing was just not right, I think.
I
So,
remember when this happened, the first time this happened that I can recall
mhm.
was when it was like maybe season three, 2 to 3 of New Jersey,
Yes.
where they came to the reunion and the reunion did not make any sense because everything was based on arguments they had had after they had filmed a season that we had not seen.
Yep. So I don't know. Good on them for whatever. I'm just gonna confess now. Like, I don't think if there was a quiz for me to name the husbands, not sure if I'll pass. Maybe by the end of the episode, I can name Connor for sure, but everybody else is fair game. I'm probably gonna get it wrong. So
You got Zach too, I'm sure.
as well, we got Zach. Who can miss Zach? Zach should be on Welcome to Plathville. He looks like that family. So Jesse starts sharing texts between Demi and Marciano, and then Nick reads every single line, and it's about clams. I'll just tell you this. The word clams was there, the word cum was there were like emojis, eggplant, and all of that. And it's so crazy to me that they're reading all this and it's supposed to be all salacious, and I feel nothing.
Really?
Uh, yeah.
I mean, I was a little scandalized.
Ah,
I think part of my scandal is I don't know, I don't trust these people. And so when the cheating accusations come and it's this thirsty man, I was kind of like, look at these people like trying to bring her down. Then I saw the text messages, I was like, no,
I mean,
those are some good receipts. I will say those, if someone says I have receipts and that's what they bring out, that's good receipts.
it's good receipts. I think we can all agree that something happened. We don't know if it's Demi or Jesse. According to you, Aid, I mean, they both look alike. It could be either or, interchangeable, but we don't know the facts of what it is. And then also the reaction of Brett and Demi in that pseudo hot mic moment and her not being there. Something is amiss. It's just figuring out what exactly it is. But the fact that she's not there, it's only going to be a one sided she said. So that's why I felt nothing. Because on one hand, Jesse's like, I don't know what I'm legally allowed to say. On the other hand, Demi's not there, but somebody has receipts. What do we do? We can't talk to a wall. She's not there. So what's the point? So they say that Brett has, I'm guessing Brett is Demi's husband, that Brett has allegedly seen all this. How do we know? We don't know because he's not there. So that's my point. It's just like, okay, so where do we go with all this information? Nowhere. And it was just funny because Jen is giving all her reactions backstage, and she's all like, I don't get it. What does clam? And Zach is all straight face, like, I'm guessing clam is like pussy because it smells like that. And it was when I was like, this is not a good statement because if that's the smell, I don't know what to tell you. Oh, that's so funny. So Whitney is all like, "Oh, I don't like how Demi is being treated," and they're all looking at her like she's crazy. And Whitney is like, honestly, what exactly did she do to you? And she asked this question with a straight face to Jesse, and I'm like, Jesse's like, "Did you watch this season?" Because that's the only valid answer. How do you not know? And Whitney is so desperate for a friend because Taylor's like, "Can I remind you what she did to you? Did you forget?" And I forgot because honestly, they were showing some flashbacks from season one. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that happened. And that's the thing. They were trying to make this reunion a season one and two reunion, but I don't remember. I don't know what happened.
That look, I'm sorry. This show, the one of the mistakes they made with the reunion is they didn't have it filmed in time for it to air directly after the show.
Mm-hmm.
Look, this show is entertaining, but I forgot a lot of what happened this season. It's
Mm-hmm.
not memorable. So you making me wait however many weeks it's been since the last time I saw these people did not help.
Yeah, and then they already had a mini reunion because they all went to the Vial Files. So, but Nick points out that Jessie is not wearing her wedding ring. And she's like, yeah, we're working through hard things. I'm exposing my real life and it's not easy and we're navigating it. And her husband is there. And I will say this, they are still in their baby seasons. This is just year 3 that they're filming right now, and they are doing what a reality show should do. They are actually exposing their real lives. They're really scandalous lives, and the way they casually say things really still blows my mind. Like, we were swinging, you were sucking my husband's dick, and I'm like, Taylor, it's not like, so why are you so casual about this?
I always feel like Taylor's doing a bit much when it comes to the shock value.
Honestly, I think that's just who she is. That's the funny part. And then everyone else is like, "Oh, Taylor." And she's just like, "What? What did I say?" She has no idea. So Jesse says that the thing with Marciano started way after Vanderpump Villa, and Nick flat out asked her, "Did you have sex with Marciano?" There's this long break, and then there's nothing that can be said until season 3. Again, words that should not be said at a reunion. But she says that Jordan is anxious, as her husband is anxious and sad, and he's willing to tell his truth again in season 3. And there's a lot more to the story that we don't know. And I'm like, okay, is this a season 3 promotion? But it's also something we've heard because Sheena, who is friends with everybody and anybody in the reality verse from Vanderpump Rules, has shared that something happened because, for anyone who's familiar, Sheena has locations on almost everybody, and somehow she had Marciano's location and saw that he went to her hotel room, and I guess he spent the night there. So make of that what you will. I don't know. So we're getting more information off of the reunion than at the reunion. So there were also, did you notice that there were many voiceovers that Nick did voiceover things? You don't hear him saying it, but you just hear it and it's not the same tone. Did you notice that?
I did not. So there was some post editing.
Yeah. Yes. That happened. So they bring up the swinging again. And again, we've gone past this, but I think I'll give them grace because, like I said, this is their first reunion, and they seem to be doing a catch up of reunions. And she said she just did it live because Nick asked her, "Why did you do this?" And she said she did it to speak her truth and to defend herself. And she just happened to be, really graphic. But Taylor makes it a point to reiterate that this is why she'll always give Whitney grace, that Whitney was the first person to ask her about her side, like, I want to hear from your side. And this is where Nick pivots and asks Layla about the orgasm. But what he says is, have you had the big O? Going backstage to Zach and Jen, Zach is like, what is the big O? And
I can't. If I didn't think that Jen's life sucked enough, I'm like, oh Lord.
I mean, if anyone wouldn't know what a big O is, it would be him. So that was funny. So Layla says that she has, but with her vibrator. And this is where we move into the Whitney section. And Whitney's tears already is flowing. And Nick asks her, like, asks Michaela, why do you hate her so much?
Which is a very good question.
It is a good question. And Michaela is like, I just don't think like she's real. Like, for example, we talked about things, we said we're gonna be fine, and then the next minute I look, she's unfollowed me. She says she doesn't want to talk to me anymore. And Whitney is like, yes, but I didn't feel safe. I wanted to step out. And we've probably talked about this before, but Whitney cannot be that glib. You cannot decide how someone reacts to what you want to do. And she's throwing the bully word, which is so overused in reality world. But Whitney surely has to realize the way she acted to these women and why I guess Michaela is not going to forgive her, or why Michaela has chosen that path. She needs to just respect that. The rest of the women have accepted her. Why is she so focused on Michaela?
See, the other part is because I assume you aren't either, I'm not online. I don't follow these people. So when she says Michaela has been making videos that mock her and are mean to her. I kind of took that as truth.
Yeah,
My bad. And I've once again, like, I felt kind of bad for Whitney. I'm like, it's okay if you don't like the girl, but you don't have to make videos. Like, just
yeah.
don't like her quietly.
I haven't
Even
seen.
since the season, though, I just always felt like Michaela was doing too much to Whitney.
She was, and then I wondered if it was something offline that we don't know about because it just seems really. But the thing is, I understand people like Whitney, people that are villains, but then they want to play victim, and it's almost like you're getting away with it. And sometimes it's annoying when you see people getting away with stuff, and you just really want to stand your ground. Like, no, I'm going to hate this person to the end. And I think that's where Michaela was. And you have to remember, she's young, so she has time. She has the energy to hate somebody. So that's where that is. So the resentment, goes back to season one, and they play that scene where I think it was Whitney and Michaela, and I can't remember the last person. She's the blonde one that's pregnant, and she was saying that they weren't there for her when she was going through the stuff with her
Macy?
husband. Yes, Macy, and she wasn't there for her when she was going through the stuff with her husband. And they were like, "Yes, we were. We were there for her." She was like, "Yeah, well, it doesn't count." So basically, they didn't appreciate her, playing victim, even though they were there for her. At this point, I was looking at their drink levels. Layla has finished her soda, but everybody else is still kind of full. So Nick says that every feud, he was going to say every feud begins with a fallout, but he said every feud begins with a fallout, and they didn't edit that out. I actually rewound it to hear it, and I'm like, well, they kept that in. So, anyways, they talk about Michaela's coffee enemas. This was not part of the show, but I was shocked that she's doing enemas because I don't know if you watched the show Apple Cider Vinegar.
I did watch the fictional version and
Yeah,
some of the nonfiction version.
yeah. And that's just really where my mind went to. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And these people who are so open, there was a coffee enema thing that was going on, but I don't care about that scene that was on the kitchen table. And she was like, this is what I did this morning. Why is that on the kitchen table on the
Oh,
island?
remember? I, I will admit this is one of the things that I did not like about this reunion is the selection of unseen scenes
Hmm.
because the quality of the unseen scenes was just too varied. I don't want to watch anybody doing an enema. Like, and it's like, okay, but there was a reason why you guys cut it out because this is not interesting.
Yes. Yes. None of the unseen footage added to it and could have cut
Except
down
for
the
one.
time. Yes, 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 except for one. So hopefully we're on the same page when we get there. I'll be like, this is
We
what
are.
you're
We
referring
are.
to.
We are.
Okay. So Dakota comes out, and Nick is like, oh, I see the pain and frustration between you guys, but I also see the love. And I'm like, take out the love part. I don't even know at this point if it's love because Taylor is still so angry. Like, she is visibly angry every time she talks about Dakota. And it's just so toxic. But Dakota does talk about his addiction. He does talk about how I was an addict for 10 years. I was addicted for 10 years. And I was just in a low place. I've never done anything for myself. And here I am. I don't know if I can be in a relationship. I didn't even think she could be in a relationship. So I thought we were just having fun. And I was just also just having fun. And he's crying and doing all this. And I felt a little sorry for him because addiction is not easy to navigate.
Okay, but I'm with you on all of it. But the
Yes.
part that I'm confused about is I thought I was just having fun. Then you guys got pregnant. Then she
Yeah.
had a miscarriage.
Yeah.
Then you guys got pregnant again on purpose.
Do
Tell
we
me at the part where you're like, wait, this is not just for funsies.
do you think that it was on purpose, Aid? I think it was just like being careless. Basically, if you're not
The
using
first time,
anything,
maybe, but the second time?
yes, the second time you feel like if you're not using anything, then I think they were just caution to the wind and both of them were just in low places and it was like, que sera, sera. So I don't know. I don't
One
know.
of you was arrested for domestic violence. I do not understand how you can que sera sera pregnancy after that.
I mean, we're
You're like,
seeing
what you're
this.
trying to say is these people are dumb, which are.
Yeah, yeah, like you're trying to be rational, and I'm telling you that everything they do doesn't seem to be rational. It just seems to be a series of not well thought out events that have happened. And they have their baby, and the good thing is they both seem to love the kid, and they want to do what's best for the kid. But
No,
those
they
two
don't.
should. Huh? Did you say no, they don't?
No, they don't.
Oh, okay.
That
Okay.
child is like getting to be a couple years old, and you guys still haven't figured out how to have a healthy co parenting relationship or some other kind of healthy relationship.
Yeah.
Just toxicity all around.
Yeah, Nick is like it feels like Taylor is torturing Dakota just to pay him back. But honestly, I think she's torturing herself. We talked about this when we recapped the season, where it feels like Taylor is going through like some kind of self loathing, and she's just punishing her. It feels like she doesn't deserve anything good. And I don't know if she feels like Dakota is what she gets for whatever it is that she did, because she still seems so hard on herself about the whole swinging thing, because she starts crying and says, I still hate myself about it. And I wish she would let it go, because as time goes on, it's been how many years? She doesn't seem any less hurt by what Dakota did. And to her point, she said something about she just found out something recently, which she does not mention, because let me guess, it's in season 3. So Nick is like, if you're never going to be together, why are you doing the back and forth? And Taylor's like, because it's hard. And I'm like, no, because it's crazy. Like, I don't.
I'm like, did I mishear Dakota? Because I keep on hearing from Dakota, I would like something more than just the sex that we're having.
Yeah.
But I'm not hearing because I feel like I can be faithful and not make the same mistakes that I've made before that have caused our relationships to fall apart. So I feel like this is not entirely on Taylor why they're not in a relationship. And I don't
Yeah.
understand why Nick implied as such. Like, oh, she's torturing him. He's like, well, I want more than I'm getting, but I don't think he wants or will say what he wants.
Maybe he doesn't trust himself, because I think Nick asked him, do you think you can be faithful? And he said yes. And that's when Taylor was like, no, because I just found out something and he can't be faithful. So that's why I'm saying, like, Nick, take out the love part. Say you see the pain and frustration, but I don't there's no point encouraging them to be together. Everybody on the couch was like, please, they need to stop. They need to go away. Um when he's implying that Taylor is the reason why they're being held back, I was just thinking, if Dakota decided to completely cut it off and got a girlfriend, because right now maybe he's waiting in the wings, and maybe Dakota in some ways waiting in the wings because of all the fame and stuff that comes with being with or being associated with Taylor. If Dakota gets a girlfriend, I can totally see Taylor going to sleep with Dakota with a girlfriend just to prove that she has the power to get him whenever she wants, because she's that chaotic.
And call me a chaos agent because I'm like, I wouldn't feel bad for anybody in that situation. If you choose to date Dakota after seeing what we have seen, that is on you. If Dakota
Oh.
chooses to throw away whatever new relationship he's got on Taylor, that is on him.
Someone dated Sandoval after everything. So
Exactly.
um Nick asked Jesse, this is after showing a clip of the whole Demi 101, and why was it in black and white? What was that about? But anyway, Nick asked Jessie why she was so unbothered by the money thing, which we asked when we did the recap. Like, does she have something on her? And she says, like, well, by the time they started filming, that this happened months before they started filming, and she didn't want to rehash it, and they had already spoken about things, and she didn't know the things that she was saying about her. And in fact, Demi switched it up and said she was so disappointed in Jessie, and that Jessie needs to earn her trust back. So that was what was going on. She didn't want to rock the boat, so she just, went along with it. So they asked Whitney if she thinks Taylor values them, because there was a comment about, Taylor not valuing them. I think Demi said that. And she starts going off on a tangent about, yeah, there are events and Taylor doesn't show up. And Jesse's like, that has nothing to do with anything. But even the guys backstage are like, oh, Taylor is so humble. And this is an example of where people think that Nick was getting on Whitney. But I think the scenario is like Whitney is the only one that's actually friends with Demi. So I think it's fair to ask her the questions. Like, you know her best, you hang out with her. This is someone you are comfortable calling friend. So what do you think about it? No one's saying speak for her, but what do you think about it? I thought that was fair, but no. Yes.
I thought that was fair. And I also felt like it's not like Whitney was shying away from being her representative.
She was trying to kind of back out, I think. But I don't know. She's like, I don't want to speak for her. And I was like, well, no one's saying that. But just like, since that's your friend and that's what you would do for a friend and stand up for them, like, can you justify their behavior? So they do a vote on accountability because Nick starts telling Whitney that he doesn't think that she takes accountability. And no one votes for Whitney except Miranda, and everyone votes for Taylor. And I was going to ask, so at this point, did you think that he was picking on her?
No.
I still don't think he was. I just, there's so many voices that you're just like, what do I really feel? I'm looking at it and I'm like, I don't know. Whitney, just stand 10 toes down on everything that you've done, because I don't necessarily think Whitney takes responsibility. She says something, she's like, that's how I felt in the moment. I wanted to do XYZ, so I said it and I don't regret it. And I'm like, okay, so when they call you out on it, respond as such. I don't know.
So the specific thing that I was like, okay, maybe it's not that I thought that they were being too hard on her. It's just
Mhm.
like you've asked the question and she's answered.
Mhm.
She's not planning on changing. I think like they're like, oh, we're giving her an opportunity to say what we need her to say. She doesn't want to say that. So
Mhm.
stop. Like it does look a little badgery.
But you see, this is where it would have come in handy if there was a woman, because especially from a man that's just badgering like a woman, and Whitney's gonna go with the tears, and she just looked really wounded, and then it just looks worse off than everything else. Um, they talk about the CMA thing. They didn't even really go in depth with it. And Nick is all, oh, I would prefer a text from like a friend. That really goes a long way more. Sir, do you know what show you were on? It's all based on social media. This is Gen, I don't know, Z, Y, whatever they are. No one wants a text from your friend. We need it publicly shown, and Taylor is very clear about that. Like, I need it shown, and I think that it was calculated. But I thought
She
we're
was
about, oh, go ahead.
I was really happy with how Taylor explained it
Yeah.
because it's the truth. This is our job. This is what we do. I think she was even mild in her explanation. She could have said more about how social media does matter. That is our industry. That is
Yeah,
how we make our money. So, yes, these fools can't act like they had never heard of it.
which they were trying to. They stood 10 toes down on that.
Well, they
Like,
texted you. No one saw that.
and on the flip side, Nick really did grill Taylor about this and kept asking, like, oh, so you wanted this? And she's like, no, yeah, I was being petty. I was doing this. But because Taylor is not crying, all of a sudden it's fine. No one mentioned anything about him like going at her. So I don't know. All right, the guys come out and they send Layla and Miranda back because how dare you be single? That was so weird to me. So Jordan said he knew what happened. Jordan is Jesse's husband. But we are not going to know what really happened again season 3, but he does mention that he and Brett don't really talk anymore. And this might be minor, but I liked how they showed fun moments for the guys, but they did not do that for the women. Instead, they showed the fights.
You didn't think the enemas was fun?
No, it was poop. No. Nope, 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 nope. Show me funny moments, show me loving moments and stuff. But for the guys, they showed that. They didn't even show the fight. The one where someone was yelling in the Chippendale costume and everything. But that's besides the point. Connor, Whitney's husband, commends Whitney's bravery to come back despite everything that had happened. And I'm like, wow, how brave to come back to an opportunity to make money and get your name known so you can get cast on Dancing with the Stars. So, so brave of her. So this is when they played the unseen footage of Connor's addiction. He was addicted to porn, and they had the whole thing where he was on Tinder. And it was like a little mini scandal in season one. Then they went to Hawaii. Then they came back and bought a house sight unseen. And there was a clip where his hair was funny. And I'm like, did he get a hair transplant? Did you see that?
No, I didn't notice.
Oh, he had a little thing because now his hair is all full and everything. So, in a somber moment, Connor does share that he was raped as a little boy. And this was just, the world is evil. We already know that. But it's just a child. Why? He's had to live with that. He's had to live with the guilt. And this was the unseen footage that we are referring to, right?
Right. And then I almost felt like it was a little disrespectful that they didn't put it in the show, that we had to wait for the reunion and put it in unseen footage. I don't think I loved that.
Maybe they weren't ready because it looked like it was a season one footage.
Oh, see, I didn't even think about that.
So I'm not clear. It just looked like it was season one footage, but I'm not sure. But maybe he wasn't ready because it's so sensitive. Because if they were gonna put it or if he was ready, I think that it would have been a good tie-in with Michaela's also, So I don't know. But yeah, everyone is in tears and it's just so sad. And no one knew. And he said that in the footage that the only person he had told was his therapist and Whitney. And I think some family members, I believe. So finally, Jen is let out the cage and she's out and she continues to be extra. But, I'll give her grace. She's pregnant, which she had her baby today, by the way, Penelope. Yeah. So they start with the Ben Affleck thing, and I'm like, Jen, drop it. You're not related to that man. Zach is embarrassed. Ben Affleck is gonna send you an actual cease and desist, and you guys just need to stop. So
I disagree 1,000%. I already said it. This Ben Affleck thing is funny, and that's all it is. It's funny, and I love that Jen treated it like the joke that it is, because it's a joke and it's funny. Everybody else has got their pearls clutched. How dare you? I say that you're related to Ben Affleck, you liar. It's just like,
so well, Zach said that at some point during the season, Demi had said something about she was a victim, and they got a call. They got a call from Brett and Demi calling Zach and Jen and telling them that they have to find out how they're going to play this all out. And I couldn't believe this. And then we get another good receipt on there. Zach said, seeing how much shit she was talking about Jesse, I'm like, I can't trust this girl. So I'm going to record it. And they played the recording. And it was pretty damning. I mean, you can't defend yourself against that. What are your thoughts on recording on, reality TV? Should you be recording people is that against the law?
no. I don't understand how people get mic'd. Okay, that's a lie. I do understand how you can be mic'd and think that you guys. So when I was on House Hunters an age ago and we were filming, at one point me and the person who I was touring houses with were in the car and we were mic'd up and we kind of forgot and we started talking about how when you're in the car, the lighting is best to pull your chin hairs. And then the audio guy started was just losing it laughing at us. So I guess my point is yes, you will forget that you were mic'd up. But yeah, it's fair game to use that stuff.
Okay. Well, they did. And they played it and they were saying how they were going to spin it, what she's supposed to say. And, Nick does what he does and asks Whitney, thinking about this, what do you think? And she's like, oh, this sounds, I don't want to speak for her, but this sounds really bad. Like, you can't tell people what to do. And the producers get shady and flashback to Demi, because she called Whitney right before the reunion started from Disney World, telling her, like, the safest place to just say, like, you're not going to speak for me and everything's fine. And I was like, that's funny.
Does it feel like she was like giving her permission? Like, what if she hadn't given her permission? Would she have been okay with saying, I don't speak for you?
I don't know. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. When I was watching the conversation, it didn't seem like she was trying to tell her what to say. It seemed like a regular old conversation, like, it'll be fine, just don't say that. But I don't know. See, I don't know. So then they talk about the hair, and it's so confusing every time they say Jay Z, because that's what her initials, Jesse's initials. But then you talk about the Jay Z party, and they were like, they shouldn't have brought up the extensions. And I don't know if you noticed, but Whitney's tickets, she's always flipping her hair. And every time she flips it, and she starts talking about, bullying and all this stuff again. And I'm like, I don't know. This bullying thing is just overrated. Like, if you're going to be the villain, lean into it and just hang there. You've survived it. You are still on the show. You made it to season 2, now to season 3, and you'll be okay. I don't know. And they pivot to Layla's body image and self harm, which, again, something I forgot from season 1. I don't know how I forgot about that, but they talk about that and how she has body dysmorphia, and how, when they tell her that, you don't look, or you look healthy, or which one, that in a sick way, she feels good about that. And she's trying to stop self harming because her boys, noticed it and was asked and saying, mama has an owie. And she's like, she just doesn't want to give them trauma on that. And, that was another moment where she was vulnerable and shared that. So I hope she overcomes that.
Me too. The other thing that was said really early in the episode was when Layla talked about how, like the money from,
The show,
and,
the
and I wondered
endorsements,
if it was money from the show or money from Mom Talk because it wasn't clear. She said brand deals, and I was like, did
and
those
just,
brand
yeah.
deals come before the show or after the show?
Hmm.
But I like, as much as I don't really understand a lot of this, I love the fact that it's women making money. Nothing will
Yeah.
make me happier than a woman making money. And Layla being so young, a mom, divorced, I'm happy for her that she can support her kids by herself, don't need no man.
Yeah.
Good
It
for her.
it did make me wonder though, because she said she couldn't afford groceries and all that. Where is her kids' fathers? Where's her family? Where's all of that? Like, does she have a support system? Like, these are the things that I wanted. I am interested in knowing more about Layla. And I don't know if we're not getting more because of the people in her life, or if they're treating her as a friend of.
I feel like she gets friend of treatment, yes.
Yeah.
And I'm with you in that I would like to know more.
Yeah. And I think we're going to get that, because in the preview for season 3, she does mention what we talked about in the season recap about, people telling her that, oh, she's whitewashed because she lives here. So, I think she's done enough in season 2 to give her more. So,
Yeah, she's
looking
part
forward
of
to
the
that.
drama, but
Yeah.
it, like you said, it's not like learning. I feel like we just learned a lot about people's stories and relationships and
Yeah.
families, and we learn about Layla, but we don't learn about her relationships with other people.
Yeah, because her sister showed up in season 2. So hopefully she goes to visit her, or she comes around, since she's willing to film, and we can get, some more about her. Um, at some point, when Michaela and Whitney are talking, because he talks about Michaela sharing about her sexual assault also, when that's done, and she said she related, and Connor was so kind to her, and they spoke. And honestly, I don't know how Whitney bagged the best husband on here, because Connor honestly is the best. Because after he shared, and Taylor went to go hug him and all that, I think he told her, like, her being so outspoken gave him the bravery to also come out. Like, he just always says the nicest things. And he was the one also in during season 2, when they had that party where he was giving Taylor a speech about, like, let go of Dakota, like, you don't need all of that and stuff like that. But he's a good husband, or a good person, I guess, to say that. But anyways, Nick is like, well, Michaela, would you accept a hug from Whitney? And I'm like, okay, great. But did you ask Whitney if she wants to hug Michaela? Because Whitney was over Nick by this point. She body language was not it, and she wasn't having it. I mean, they did hug, but I didn't think it was fair to just put that on. I hate when people are trying to make the peace, but do the people involved, do they want the peace? Ask them, you know? So that was uncomfortable for me to watch. So then we learned some terminologies in the Mormon world, like docking. Aid, cover your ears, because I know you hate us talking about stuff like this. And the analogy was a hot dog in a hot dog bun, and it's basically like the dick just laying on top and then sliding it up and down.
Just have sex and be done. You have to understand that I, for some reason, I ended up getting lots and lots of explanations of the soaking.
Oh yeah. Wait, you got it from who?
I like back when it was first made aware of them in the mainstream. I
Oh, okay.
can't
Yeah, yeah.
remember which podcast I was listening to, how it related to any topic, but suddenly I was listening to detailed descriptions of this new Mormon thing called soaking, and I was horrified. Because once again, I'm just like, just have sex. Why are
Why?
you like? And I'm not particularly religious, but I'm like, why in God's green earth are people trying to like get into the footnotes of trying to stay legal or on the side of the rules? Like, it just seems so antithetical to what you are trying to do.
I mean,
Am I making sense?
yes, you are, because everything they're showing us is they're just trying to find the loopholes. That's literally all I've learned from this show. Is like, what is the loophole and how can I do it? Like, we're not gonna do this. We're not gonna do, because Nick even asked, "Why are you drinking coffee, but you love sodas?" And then they do all the things, but then we'll do ketamine, but you can't do drugs, or I don't even know. It's so complicated, and that's their whole goal is loopholes.
I think if
Um,
you're looking for loopholes, you need to sit down and think to yourself, is this religion for me?
just find something that lets you do it. Then there's a BYU Super Weekend when people go to Vegas, get married just so they can have sex and then get it annulled. That's a lot.
That's not a temple sealed wedding.
Oh my god. And then there's derfing. Derfing is just dry humping. I don't know why we need a word for that. We could say dry humping. It's not that many
No, no,
syllables.
no. It's dry humping when Mormons dry hump.
Okay. Oh my god. So, anyways, they end the reunion by announcing, like, oh, there's someone, like, all of them auditioned to go on Dancing with the Stars. I'm like, really? Even Miranda? Because Miranda gave nothing this reunion. I'm surprised that she made it. Actually, she should have been in the back. Why is she here and Jen is in the back? Like,
I honestly forgot she was there.
oh, she
Like
was
I had
there.
a thought when we first started, like, wait, was Miranda there? And then I was like, it will seem like I didn't watch if I ask.
She was there. Her and her babies. I meant her boobs, but yes, they were there. I didn't realize that they didn't know who, because of course at this point, but we were watching, they had already announced who was going to be on Dancing with the Stars, but I didn't realize that they didn't know. They were finding out through Nick, and they were saying, "Who do you think it was going to be?" I would have thought for sure it'll be Taylor. Nothing would have told me that it wasn't Taylor, because that is the star of, the show.
I'll
But they
tell you
say
right now that if Taylor is not doing Dancing with the Stars, it's because she opted out. I'm serious. I seriously think that Taylor said, I'm good.
yeah. Well, they keep saying that Taylor is going through stuff, and I'm wondering if there's more besides the Dakota stuff.
There's also the other thing that really got me about this Dancing with the Stars thing is like Dancing with the Stars, you have to move to LA for possibly up to what, 6 months, 4 months?
Mhm. Mhm.
That is no small commitment to people who live in Utah and have children, young children.
Yeah.
So I was like, I was kind of shocked. I mean, people will really do anything for exposure.
Yeah, of course. So, I mean, we find out that Jen has wanted this since she was a kid. It's all she's talked about. And I'm not familiar with their dancing. Honestly, the extent of my video knowledge of these mom talk ladies are what comes on my For You page or any clips they've played on the show. But I mean, a lot of it is dancing. So,
Yeah,
Whitney is a dancer.
I will say that culturally, Mormons are known for being good dancers.
Hmm.
They are like and like good like ballroom dancing. I think who am I thinking? I'm thinking of the Osmonds for some reason, but something about how like they have parties, they don't have alcohol, and people still are like very big into dancing and they're really good dancers. That is what I've heard.
I mean, I know one of the pros, her sister, Lindsay Arnold. I think she's not a pro anymore. She's also she's in Utah also. And then her younger sister is now a pro on Dancing with the Stars, but that is about the only person I think I know on that. So, anyways, they go drum roll, please. You could see in all of Whitney's face that she wanted this so bad. And then they announce that it's Jen, and Jen is so excited. And then she's like with Zach, and Zach I don't know what Zach really feels about this because she has to dance sexy dances in close proximity with someone else. And there's a lot of history with Dancing with the Stars where people end up dating their partners.
I
There's been
mean,
cheating. So I'm
you,
not
you can
manifesting anything for them.
you
Or
you can take it all the way back to season 1 of Dancing with the Stars, where Trista Sutter was convinced that part of the reason she got kicked off is because they aired a package where Ryan was not happy with how close she was getting to her dance partner in the dances. And I
Mhm.
don't know why, but I'm like, oh, Zach is gonna be a problem.
Yeah. I'm like, does he really know what it has been when you see the tango, when you do this? I don't know. We'll see what that's gonna do. So you can see Whitney all trying to be happy and all that stuff. So they're like, "How do you feel?" She's like, "Oh yeah, she's happy. I'm happy." It's, what she wanted. Someone's like, "There's always another season." I don't think Taylor said that. And then Nick is like, "Oh wait, we're gonna have another one. Like, there's gonna be two people." And then I think Michaela is like, "Oh, Taylor." So that's why I didn't think if she opted out or not, but she probably did behind the scenes, which is like, don't say anything. And that's the thing about Taylor when they were talking about the humility section. She is quite humble. And when they were showing the package, I can't remember what package it is, but every package, Taylor truly is dressed like a bum. She even said it. She was like, "Oh, I look terrible." She's always dressed in sweats, so I really hope she's okay because sometimes when people are like, sad or going through something, it shows in that way and I'm just Taylor could not care less. But then on the flip side, there's the CMAs. So maybe that again that's why that's a big deal.
Because she got dressed.
Yeah, she dressed
And
up and she actually went for something and you guys are like, okay, sure.
you're like humility versus depression. What's going on here?
So yeah, so then there was the announcement and there was the second one. And I think at this point, everybody kind of knew that it was going to be Whitney. And then they announced Whitney. And it was cute that as soon as she got up and the first person she went to was her husband. And then she and Jen starts jumping around. And Jen is like, "We're moving to LA." So here's my theory. I still think Jen wants to leave Zach, but is not quite sure how to navigate that. I hope she ties her tubes because it doesn't look like she wants any more kids, just so that doesn't happen and doesn't tie her down some more. But I think she's doing everything she can to frustrate Zach and to test him on everything. So
You're like,
he's
if
the
I
one.
just do enough things, he'll leave me and
Yes.
save me the trouble.
Yes. Because she's just like, "We're moving to LA." And I'm like, is that his Zach's plan? Does he want that? And I think they're testing him to his limit because Nick is like, "Oh, I've seen a change in you." I'm like, okay, only you have. I don't know how deep this change goes. So we'll see how that happens. But I am disappointed that they did not address that scene where Taylor's family basically called her a tramp.
You see, they had a whole reunion that was one of the most talked about scenes, and we didn't hear a peep about it.
Yeah. They played it, but they didn't actually address that. So could the reunion have been better? Yes. Could Nick have done a better job? Yes. Did Nick do a terrible job? No. I think he was decent enough, but I would have been okay if we didn't have this reunion, you
And
know?
it's interesting because usually the reason why a reunion flops is the participants. I'm not even blaming the participants. I think it's the storylines. I think it's the show. It is just not suited for reunion.
Yeah, I
It
think it's
was
the
forced. on
I
us.
think it's the timing. I will be sure for sure, like when we film season three, and they film it at the appropriate time, and maybe if they involve, like, viewer questions or topics of discussion, like hot topics from whatever the season is, and we don't get a season where it's like, oh, I can't say it's in season four or something like that, we'll see and decide then, and maybe a different host, and see, make our final decisions on if this needs one or not. Well, anything else you got?
No.
All right. Well, guys, that was it. Let me know if you have any thoughts on this. If we missed anything, Aid, it is always a pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. All right, guys, you know where to find me. It is also called MAFS on Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, and Threads. And please give me a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. Until the next episode, guys, talk to you then. Bye.
Bye.